e-commerce platform to serve the whole ASEAN area consumers. And the Taobao Tmall, they just bring all the Singapore's small and medium enterprises to sell their merchandise to China. And some very good brand we also introduced to China on Tmall. And for China logistics, we build up on logistics from Singapore to cover whole Southeast Asia, so that we can sell our merchandise, sell our some goods from China to Southeast Asia. So this is very important. And for Alibaba Cloud, we are the technology arm to serve all the enterprise in Singapore and the whole Southeast Asia, even for Middle East and Indian area. So this is very important, especially during COVID-19. We also noticed that during the COVID-19, all the enterprise accelerated their digital journey to embrace the cloud native GoCloud initiative. And in China, we find that right now there are over 800 million internet users, and among these users, roughly around 500 million on retail e-commerce consumers. And among all these e-commerce consumers, around 98% of the users use mobile phone devices. So all the digital journey was accelerated in China, especially during the COVID-19. We also find that in the past 7 months in Singapore, in South Asia, all the consumers, because they cannot go out to go back to office or go out for some social activity, they needed to spend more time in home. So all the consumers would like to use the internet, using the mobile devices to do some shopping or do some e-commerce buying behaviors and for some digital entertainment. So the digital journey, so for every company, especially for the small and the medium company, they need to accelerate their digital journey. So we are preparing together with HCS for our GoCloud native initiative, so that we can support the SMEs in Singapore, even outside Singapore, that they can use the digital solution to digitize their existing business from the traditional way to the online method. So these are some trends we noticed, and we are very pleased to collaborate with HCS to provide such program, to provide such solution to support your digital journey. And in Singapore, Alibaba Cloud, Alibaba Group is committed and have very good confidence that we have all the local ecosystem to develop the journey on a digital, on the cloud. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Derek Wan. I think that is very encouraging to know that partners like the cloud providers and our Singapore companies, especially the consultants and the training providers, are putting their act together to continue with the advocacy to encourage ICT companies who are on-premise to migrate into the cloud space. So ladies and gentlemen, I know burning in the minds of some of us is that how could we refresh this whole idea of what is GoCloud native? And I want to be able to invite the experts to address this question, to define what is GoCloud native in a comprehensive manner by each expert, maybe sharing in no more than 5 sentences or so what GoCloud native is about to each stakeholder. So maybe we'd like to begin with the experts who are the software developers. And I would like to start with maybe Professor Wu Kang-wei.
Certainly. So basically, if we think of the cloud, it is a resource that we use to share a lot of assets that might otherwise have been previously deployed individually, separately, and then they do not interact with each other. So the cloud is the place whereby you share these resources. And then when we come to GoCloud native, it would mean that these resources are shared in a way whereby there are no real obstacles, that you do not have any legacy constraints that holds things back, that prevents you from this sharing maximally. So it's about sharing, and hence the SMEs can benefit from that due to the reduction in the cost.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wu. I think that's easy enough for many of us to understand. And maybe now I would like to invite Mark. Mark, from your own perspective, what is GoCloud Native, and how would you explain GoCloud Native to a potential ICT on-premise who is thinking about coming on GoCloud Native?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah. So firstly, to most of my clients, usually, we actually advise them to actually move towards the cloud nowadays. Because on-premises, there are quite a lot of downsides to it. So to me, in general, cloud native is actually an approach of building and running applications that exploits advantages of cloud computing delivery models like from Alibaba, AWS, and so on, right? So cloud native is about how applications are created and also how are they deployed, right? Because instead of where, because everyone knows about cloud nowadays, right? So for cloud, to me, I feel that it's about how we actually work on things, where in the past, we are all working on waterfall methodology, where things are slow, right? But now when we need to deploy with their updates or upgrades, we do not have to contact your certain vendors. Can you do this for me? Can you do this, do that for me? Where they will give you, times things are way slower, unlike agile methods, because everything is containerized, right? If I need to deploy something small, I can just deploy it instantly without having the need to actually make a call to my developers. Downtimes will be better as well for me. So I feel that for cloud, I think everyone should be moving towards the cloud now instead of, that's how usually I advise my clients, because for legacy methods, there are a lot of things to maintain. Internal security, because I do have some clients where I still see their servers are physically in their office at the moment, where it's just behind a rack, that's all. Yep. So cloud is definitely way more secure in my perspective.
Thank you, Mark. I think that's a very interesting way to put it. I would like now to invite Joanne, who has been executing a lot of these projects on GoCloud Native. Maybe you want to share with us how you see and define this notion of GoCloud Native.
Yes, I think that for me, the very simple definition, I always say it's like watching Netflix. It's very much computing power on demand, without all the, I think, associated issues of having to manage your infrastructure. You can get access to a lot more functionality, power, as well as services. So for me, that definition is very much around computing partner on demand. I think the key gap, and sometimes why it creates a bit of fear, is that there's so many ways of going cloud native, so many options to pursue. So what is important, I think, is to have a very clear business goal of what you're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. And from there, kind of whittle down how you want to approach the problem. Because the great thing right now is we're really in on-demand world where all the different pieces, you can bring them together very quickly, and also assemble a solution which is more focused on your requirements.
Thank you, Joanne.
I completely agree that security is a big reason why going cloud native is actually important.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's very helpful. And of course, I would like to ask Evelyn to chip in, because Evelyn will have what I would say the whole of perspectives approach of all stakeholders, being where she is, and she might be able to provide us with the perspectives that the government is trying to direct. So, Evelyn.
Hi. So from a government point of view, right, the whole reason why we started on cloud native is actually because we do see the benefit, and it's not tech for the sake of tech, right? From a business point of view, just like what the rest of the panelists have articulated, it's really in the business value of being able to meet your customers' need faster, deploying faster, less cost to a certain extent where you don't have to manage your own infrastructure, right? So in the long run, you're more scalable, you're able to go to market in a faster way. And we do understand that going cloud native, it's a new concept, new capability that many companies may not existingly have. So the conceptualization of the GoCloud with HCS and 4 other cloud service providers is essentially very important in providing you that support that's required, training your guys in the right knowledge and skills, and providing the right support and mentorship through guiding you through that journey so that you're not alone. And I just want to caution, while going to the cloud, it's important. Cloud native is really more than that, right? So it's not just lifting and moving to the cloud. That's important first step to take. But essentially, if you want to maximize the full cloud native capability and be able to deploy quickly and fast, really you need to look at what cloud native and the services being offered by different cloud service provider, and that's very important. And they're all here to help you and assist you. You just need to consult them, take that first move, take that position, and have a strategy moving forward to go cloud native, and then you'll be on your way. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very good. I think that has given a better understanding of the fact that it is actually quite easy, and we shouldn't be fearful or be too concerned about some of our expectations or assumptions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think what is very important while the experts are sharing their perspectives of what GoCloud Native is all about, it is important to really find out too from a business leader, why would a business leader make that decision to go on cloud? And a case in point is Allspice Academy. I have Clarence here, the CEO of Allspice Academy, to really share his motivation on why he's embarking on the GoCloud journey. And Clarence, maybe you want to let us know what motivated you to embark on this journey?
Hi. Thanks, Madam Ho. Really, I think with the COVID pandemic, it brought everything forward, all our plans to go to digitalize everything. We have had used cloud before to store some of our documents, but going cloud native was really because we felt that as an education institute, from a business point of view, we wanted to be more productive, more agile, and we want to reach a global audience. And therefore, there was got to be a need for getting a lot of programs and therefore a lot of bandwidth. And going cloud native allowed us to save costs in the long run. Also allows the possibility of scaling up if there's a lot of students coming on board for our e-platform lessons. And I think the part about security and support also attracted us is that established companies like Alibaba would provide a 24/7 team that will continuously, service and maintain their back end. So that gives us a security and a safety net that we don't need to have our own server, which we do have in our school, and occasionally it just breaks down, and it's really just really provide a good platform and experience for our customers.
Cool. All the convenience, all the promises of productivity increase, I think those are really real prompters for many businessmen. Now, I also would like to request for Professor Wu to share the journey that he's embarking on with Space Asia on a personality profiling tool. Prof. Wu, what were the challenges that this client, Space Asia, had when they were doing profiling the traditional, conventional way? And when they decided to come to you, what were the main reasons and motivations? And would you be able to maybe share with the audience, why would a professional services company like Space Asia be looking at a profiling tool as a GoCloud native application?
Certainly. So for a start, Space Asia had a business whereby they would conduct personality profiling in the traditional way, which for a start would be non-digital. So people will take the profiling test on paper, then it needs to be scored, the result needs to be collated, and then basically you could compare that against other metrics in order to assign, I think, some outcome combined with other tools and so forth in order to make an accurate representation what the individual personality looks like, right? So you can well imagine that this process, while it had worked in the past, will not work so well moving forward. Because for one thing, you cannot do this task at scale, right? So each time you have 10 times more people that you would hope to assist to do this profiling, you'll find that you need maybe more than 10 times the resources to do that, right? So do we have something that's far better than how it is done traditionally? And the answer ought to be there is, and it is called Cloud Native. So with Cloud Native, you are actually harnessing these capabilities from the Cloud Native stack in order to assist with the profiling task so that you not only can offer the test on any platform that you choose, be able to conduct it at any time of the day, at any location, be able to collate, to score, and do everything, okay, in the cloud directly. So in that sense, a lot of the process that was otherwise manual in the past now becomes automated. So in which case, we're not talking about scaling to another 100 times, we're even talking about much, much larger numbers. And then in which case, this would really facilitate the work that is being done by these professional services providers.
Thank you, Dr. Wu. Now, Dr. Wu, in your experience with Allspace in this profiling tool, what would you say are the most satisfactory milestones that you have achieved to date?
I think to count as the most satisfying, I think really at the end of the day, is that the outcome that it had brought. So the outcome really justify all the hardship that we have encountered going through that process, okay? So in some sense, some of the hardship could, I think, necessarily be part of that journey. So sometimes the journey is tedious at times, okay? But at the end of the day, I think the outcome really justifies all of that hardship, okay? And by no means am I trying to sort of suggest that it always will be difficult. I think for companies, for SMEs, for them to embark on this new journey, they can, I think, make an expectation that there could be some hardship. But as they progress in that journey, you'll find that it gets easier and easier. So the outcome really is the most satisfying part of it.
So I'm sorry to ask you another one question. What would be an example of such a hardship and an example of the outcome that keeps you going?
Right. So I think in some sense, many people may imagine that going down the digitalization journey would mean trying to do exactly what they had done before, except in a digital way. Okay? That it turns out in many instances that may not be optimal. So meaning that in the past, if we had done things in the non-digital way, we may be forced into selecting some options that is not necessarily the case when we digitalize that process. So some of the workflow could be short-circuited, right? So that in some sense, some people do have some discomfort when it comes to say, oh, but I did not do that in the past. So can we basically re-engineer the digital workflow so that at least I experience that traditional part in the new workflow as well? So sometimes I think some of that discomfort may take a little bit of time to be relieved.
Thank you. Now I want to turn to Mark. Mark, I know you have a big client who is doing a payment system with you. Mark, would you like to share with us the journey of this client and what are some of the reasons that they decided to put their payment system on cloud and go and develop application of a payment system, and what are some of the milestones that they have achieved to date, and what would be their directions going forward?
Okay, so I think I'd like to share a little bit on what the application is about. So it's actually a digital wallet that will be incorporating soon. We are going through the checks now with actually MAS and all. So this will actually be launched in somewhere in December. So this will be a digital wallet called PayWho, right? I know there's Pay Now and now there's PayWho. So along the lines, for the clients, our motivation is actually looking at China. Every time we travel overseas and all nowadays, it's always where you see people paying without physical cash. Like when I travel to maybe restaurants or maybe even a coffee shop in China, they tell me 不收现金, which they do not accept cash at all. Everything really is digital in that age now, in this age now, right? So what PayWho is trying to do is actually a 3-in-1 wallet. So what is the 3-in-1? Number one, they're going to plan to move into where a QR code where you can actually scan. That's one. So number two is actually your cardless wallets, like what you see in Grab. And number three, it's actually where you can do your remittance from, because this company that is building it is actually from a remittance business themselves. So they do have the license for it to actually apply for this as a subsidiary company. So why they actually choose cloud? Because previously I saw that they have physical service in their office. Maintaining it was actually not easy, as all the securities that you can think of, because the clients, right, they're always thinking about security issues. What if it's on a cloud? What's going to happen? It's actually how you actually set your fundamentals right. How do you actually do your white listings? How do you actually defend people from coming in? Usually it's called firewall, right? So for us, it's actually, we choose cloud. Number one thing is that we want it to be scalability. So example, if it's a new app, it's a new application on cloud, right? You will not have a lot of customers acquired at the start. Why would you need like 10 servers prepared on standby for it? You can actually set it in a way where one server is only available at the moment, where this is actually behind a load balancer with auto scaling. So it depends on the bandwidth. You can set the minimum capacity or maximum capacity of how it actually fires up and down. So the plan that we have for PayWho is actually to move into facial payment. That's what we are looking at right now. So we actually came in with the QR code payment, which is the norm. Everyone is in the red ocean. We want to move out of the red ocean and move into the blue ocean, where what you see in China now, they're progressively doing is actually facial payments. So that's the main progress that what PayWho is going to go to.
Very interesting. I think it's definitely a project that you will ambitiously pursue to scale up. And as you know, we will be very, very happy to partner you to look into those possibilities. Now, I want to hear from a big mind now, Joanne. And Joanne, I think I understand that you have been helping a lot of Alibaba clients on the execution of some of this cloud native stuff. So maybe you want to share with us one or two of your experiences with your clients in helping to execute.
Yes, we at BigMind, we help in, I think, 3 main ways. And the key focus on BigMind side is when it comes to cloud native applications, it's really a big resource gap, because a lot of these cloud native technologies are very new. You've got technologies that are so new, so it's actually very hard to find experts like Mark and what we do at BigMind to help you execute the plan. So we help in 3 main ways. The first one is actually workshops. So we run very agile workshops, 1 to 3 days. And the purpose of that is really to kind of break what we call analysis paralysis. Because I think after you actually find the business objective, then there's a lot of analyzing requirements, and a lot of times the project just stalls. So we run workshops that help you kind of extract and focus the team to really come up with a practical action plan. So that's the first thing we do. What we found is that it's interesting as well, because the workshops help both teams with large IT functions, as well as maybe less resource teams, to really very fast come up with a plan. The second pillar of what we do is what we call specialist services. So this is where we provide either advisory or augmentation resources, where we actually work with teams. We put our specialists on site, or right now, on site has a very different meaning, to work on projects. And the purpose of it is always enablement, in the sense that we enable teams to be able to, at the end, take over the project themselves and manage it. And I think the third pillar is, as well as we build software. So a lot of cloud native methodologies, containerization, apply technologies such as Kubernetes. But Kubernetes is, as an example, is actually very difficult for developers to pick up and ramp up. So that's where we actually provide software to help them use Kubernetes advanced functionalities much easier. So these are, I think, are three key ways that we are seeing businesses really kind of need resources to go cloud native.
Thank you very much. Well, I think definitely these are very, very interesting sharing. Now, I want to now move to another question. And really, you know, there has been a lot of concerns. And I think, Mark, you mentioned earlier as well, among business owners, that their data on cloud hosted by a third party could potentially pose a security issue. How can such concerns be addressed in the minds of our experts? Maybe let's hear from Prof. Wu.
Certainly. So basically, security is very close to my heart, because I've spent many years working on security and still am. So back in 2018, I actually chaired a working group for IoT security. So this is under the auspices of IMDA and ESG. So subsequently, after 2 years of work with a whole group of experts within cybersecurity, we published a technical reference. And then this technical reference was used to spearhead the final IoT security guidelines. So all these already have been published. So meaning that for a lot of our SMEs, a lot of the assets and resources that they would like to bring onto the cloud are really IoT of some form, right? So then at the end of the day, if there are simple enough interfaces for different sets of resources to communicate with each other, then there is a very good and assured way of ensuring end-to-end security, which is what we are all going for. So that there will be, it leaves no doubt as to whether the whole entire application is secure. And it is, and in fact, it is even auditable. So that would be the outcome that we can all achieve even today. The idea is to make it as simple as possible.
Thank you. Now, I want to pose this question to Evelyn. Evelyn, I wonder how would IMDA, and from you in particular, address these concerns with the ICT companies who are taking this journey to go on the cloud native? How would you address this whole issue about cloud security?
Okay, so I may not be a security expert, but in IMDA, right, besides cloud native, there's actually another program which we call GoCloud. So in a cloud native environment, the cloud service provider will give you the natural cloud services that's available, which you need to work with them to configure properly so that you allow your services, your applications on their services to be secure. But of course, we do advocate that as a practice, as a capability within your own organization, that you try to build that up as well. So Go Secure was conceptualized where you can get support and assistance, where there are tools and services that you can get from external parties if you do not know how to, because you don't have a cybersecurity expert or professionals within your own organization. That's where you can go get some help, implement it, make sure that you learn how to put in place maybe secure code reviews, maybe even do some vulnerability testing and at your network layer when you implement, right? Pen tests where required. And this you can get external parties, and that's where the government is here to support you in this journey as well. And I also hear that a couple of companies are afraid to go cloud native because they say, hey, is it secure? Some data are sensitive. But do explore with your cloud service providers, because there's this notion of hybrid clouds that's available. Hybrid cloud models are available where you can then deploy some of this data in your private clouds, and then those that are non-sensitive in your public clouds. So work at it. It's not new. Cloud native has been around for a while. So do have conversations with your cloud service providers to see how you can exploit some of the services that are available today.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. Listening to all the suggestions of what we can do to address our concerns, I want to ask Allspice Clarence, do you have any questions for them among your panelists? Are you assured that with your very hyped up ambition of wanting to go on cloud native and scale up, have some of these concerns been addressed by what our panelists have shared?
Yeah, definitely. I think the security for our data is something that was discussed much in our company, and how to make sure that no one gets to the data. I mean, the thing that Evelyn just shared about cloud hybrid, I thought that was very interesting as well. That's something I will definitely look into as well, to keep certain things in our own private cloud and the others possibly in the other cloud natives site as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, that brings us to the next question I would have about picking a cloud partner. So I wonder, what are the guidelines really given to businesses in their choice of a cloud partner? Could I invite IMDA Evelyn to tell us more about these guidelines?
Okay. So because going on the cloud today, we have actually pre-appointed, I must say, and chosen 5 of the leading cloud service providers for you. So they are onboarded. You can go to IMDA's website to look at it. Of course, HCS with Alibaba Cloud is one of them, and you have the rest of AWS, IBM, Google, as well as I think there's one more, Microsoft. So all of them would be your key partners that you would have in mind, right? So the question is then, how do I pick? Other than the technical choices, which is obvious that you need to think through, platform, technology, services, architecture, security, and the technical support. Cost is the next that most businesses would be wondering, do I have to pay up front and to sustain this? What other costs are there that I need to think about? And 2 other things that I would like to put in the minds of the companies that's making this choice is the go-to partner as well, the support and partnership linkages to bring you to overseas markets, opening up access. And I must say, HCS as partner Alibaba Cloud in a good way, because that's where you can have access to potential markets in China, etc., right? And the last is really, if you have a certain verticals that you serve, then is there a preferred choice of platform that your customers prefer? And therefore, you want to bear that in mind. And a couple of our tech SMEs, when they make that choice, they go cloud with one partner, but eventually they actually chose a few platforms to diversify as well. So you did not just stick to one. But of course, that is a cost consideration, and it depends on your market strategy as well and your customer base.
Evelyn, I think that's very, very helpful in understanding how we should go about picking a cloud partner. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think I want to address this to Professor Wu, since Evelyn talked about the price factor. Evelyn talks about the possibility of going on various cloud platforms. To the mind of a business person, maybe like Clarence, your big question really is about price, right? Evelyn touched on price. And how can we potentially address this price issue? That's number one. Number two is that how accessibility is it to put your application from one platform provider to the next platform provider? I think these are technical concerns that the layman or the businessman may or may not have the deep understanding. So I would like Prof. Wu to share first, and then later on Mark and Joanne, on how some of these concerns are being addressed by the developers.
Certainly. So basically, when it comes to pricing, we should always recognize that it is a dynamic system. So meaning that the cloud service provider in relation to the businesses is always very dynamic. So someone who is less costly for now may not always remain so. Someone who's very costly now may also not remain so. So meaning that at the end of the day, when we structure the application onto any cloud service provider, the question earlier on was basically how easy it is to basically move things around if there should be a need to. All right. So the answer to that is that it is all possible today, particularly because cloud native itself structures in such a way that it makes the application extremely portable. So we talk a lot about virtualization. We talk a lot about containerization. We talk a lot about orchestration. So what this means is that really, at the end of the day, when we really want to implement the capability of the businesses in the cloud native approach, it could all be done, okay, in this way, whereby it really doesn't matter that the infrastructure that's provided by these cloud service provider is part of the programming, it turns out. So this aspect of it is known as infrastructure as code. Mm-hmm. So you could in fact treat everything as software code, everything literally. So meaning you could power down whatever you used to put in, let's say one cloud service provider A. You power that down, but before you do that, you already power up the infrastructure in service provider B. So in which case, any user of the services would naturally not be able to detect the difference. So it looks the same as before, but that is only an illusion because in the background, a lot of things has already happened. And cloud native allows us to orchestrate that down to that kind of a level. So it makes it a reality to actually achieve a multi-cloud scenario.
Thank you. But I have a question for you though, before I send it back to Mark. Now, you talk about powering up and powering down, depending on which platform you're on. Now, how does that kind of understanding knowledge impact the capability development of talents within the organization that is trying to go on various platforms? Must they continue to continue to depend on a third party, or can in-house capabilities be built over time to handle this, as though is one of the administrative tasks?
Yes. So I think that can be achieved over time. So for any organization who may be just starting on this journey, they may not have all the capabilities in-house. So in which case they can decide what are the core responsibilities that they should keep within the organization. Focus on that first, all right? Then anything that they do require at this moment, they would actually collaborate with a partner to fill in those capabilities that's not available in-house. Then they find that over time, maybe their wish list for the core responsibility actually is extended, and hence they may move themselves up that value chain.
Thank
Right?
you.
So it may be not achievable on day one, but certainly over time, there can be such an aspiration.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prof. And Mark, maybe you'd like to share your perspectives on this question.
Yeah, so I think just now whatever Evelyn actually has explained is actually straight to the point, where that's how our customers actually choose the services. Because first thing first, when we actually go in with the customer, we want to understand more about the project. What is their focus? What is the core goal that they are looking at? Example, if they are looking into a market that they want to work with China, like they have a lot of China customers, definitely the first platform that I would think of is actually Alibaba. Because most of the networks that they have for AWS and so on, it's all towards the North America region, where latency will be there. Imagine if one day they just put a firewall on it, that's it. Your application will stop running in China itself. I mean, that's some approach that usually we cater. So price-wise, it's the same as well. So we need to understand what the customers really need. So sometimes we ask them based on what's your plan, what's your strategy growth, how many customers are you expecting, right? So we usually ask them for like input, outputs as well. What's the traffic rate per minute, per hour, and per day? Because this actually makes a difference. Because if you only have one server, example, if you're on a native server, just maybe one Linux server on its own, and you have 5,000 people accessing at one point of time, what will actually happen is that you'll see most of your customers saying this 500 unauthorized, because it's getting slow. Everything is actually, they're trying to serve 5,000 users at one point of time. So to do all this, to solve all these issues, that's where load balancer comes in. Because I think it's a new term to business owners. Like, what's it? I mean, in layman terms, it's just balancing your network for you. So when traffic comes in, it depends on which servers they are serving your customers to, right? So if you think about it, imagine if your database, right? Everyone knows what a database is. If your database is on the physical server itself, what will actually happen is that you have a mismatch of data. Because imagine the load balancers fire up another server where user A is on server A and user B is on server B. The data will definitely not be matched. That's where maybe like one service is actually called maybe RDS from AWS. That's one. Where people have a database, a standalone centralized database, where all this information can be encrypted. You can use things like KMS. I think that's one of Clarence's issue as well, concern about security. That's where, for us developers, we always work with clients. Do you want us to encrypt your data for you? Because what we understand is we will not be holding on the database for customers because that's their property, right? So for this security, when we set up a server's example, there's this thing like layman terms, right? It's a key in a server, right? To us, it's like a key opening in your house. We treat it as a layman term. So for this kind of keys, it's not meant to actually held on by developers for security. That's one. It's actually meant to actually pass down to the business owners, where business owners would then hire their own maybe technical directors and so on to actually manage whatever it is. You can have your own in-house capability. But one thing about having own in-house capability for developers might be a little bit tough for SMEs, because that's where a lot of costings will actually be involved. But maybe like what Joanna said, where they can actually send them for trainings, to actually send them to learn how to do deployments, where codes will actually be developed by developers from an external company. But whenever there's deployment, it should be done in-house. And of course, for servers, costing-wise, usually for the norm of companies, we'll always have a staging development, a staging server, a pre-live, and a live, right? So when it comes to all this kind of costing, customers will be thinking, oh, more servers means more money. I can give an example of what I have for my own AWS account. I'm on 25 servers right now. My monthly is less than 1,001 with 4 LBs running at the moment. So it really depends on how you configure your configuration. Because some people who maybe some clients, they tell you, I want it to be at the largest, but you need to explain to them what is the cost difference and why do you need a large instance example, and what are the microservices that they should be picking. Because some of them will be thinking, oh, you know, like how we pay for cloud when we pay for maybe our own iCloud devices add-on. There's a price to it, right? But they didn't know that for cloud services, data storage is actually not expensive. Example, AWS, I can buy 1,000 gig for a very cheap amount. That's where all my data will actually be serving from. But it's a double-edged thing, right? Because it's in the cloud. So that's where you actually need to have your developers to actually let you know about security. Example, let me treat the application that I'm doing at the moment a reference. Imagine I'm uploading, I'm doing this thing called Electronic Know Your Customer, EKYC, right? And customers are actually uploading their front IC and back IC to the cloud. That's where we need to actually encrypt all these links to make sure that these links are not available when even if they find the URL, it'll be shown unauthorized. This shouldn't be shown to public. That's where we actually need the back end to actually decrypt all this information only to be shown to the specific company that is given the PDPA rights to actually approve. Yep. So that's some of my take on the cost savings and all.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Now, the next thing that I think we want to discuss or think about would be really some success stories that some of you might have come across with clients that you are working with. And I want to invite Big Mai, Joanne, to maybe share with us some of the success stories other than what had been discussed. What do you think, were some of the learning points that we can pick up from these companies so that we can learn from what had made it possible for them, as well as learn from what we should be avoiding if we truly want to go on cloud native. Joanne, please.
I think that in terms of going cloud native, it's very much a journey, and a lot of the panelists have covered different things. I will take an example of a system that we've built called lantern positioning. So lantern positioning is really about industry 4.0 and implementing IIoT in harsh and hazardous conditions. So the use case is very much that in certain industries, mastering is required by law. So if you have an oil rig, you actually do need to get all your people together at regular times and do a head count. Most of the time, that's a manual process. At the same time, if you have an oil rig out in the South China Sea, connectivity is an issue. So when we talk about cloud native applications, often I think the sense is that cloud native applications reside in the cloud. You must be connected to the internet. But the idea of cloud native is actually portability. I think as Professor mentioned, it's really about building things in a way that it can be in different environments. And that covers hybrid cloud, both on-prem, which means on the oil rig, or in the cloud, Alibaba Cloud or AWS. So in this case, we actually implemented a system which does of devices and software, which actually does a lot of the processes in automated fashion. So this actually saves both resources as well as time in doing the mastering process out in the oil rigs and environments where connectivity is at a low. So this is it's an outlier case, but the reason I brought it up is because it's an example of a very traditional situation where there has been very clear cloud native, in a way, transformation. I think the key learning one is, I think, to be very focused on the business problem. That's one learning that we took away. The second thing is also, in a way, to design for scale. The traditional approach to this, as I think a lot of us are aware, is you might build an application, a custom application that sits on the rig, and you can use it for just doing that. But by building a cloud native platform, we actually also created the means for people to add solutions to it. So at the base of it, it is about collecting headcount, but it could also be used for collecting additional data to allow for real-time analytics and other solutions to be built on top of it. And I think that's the crux of cloud-native solutions. You're not building an ordering system. You're not building a payment system, but you build something that you can use 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years from now, because you've got different stakeholders, right? I mean, from a customer's from a maybe Clarence's perspective, you might need to deploy data specific to your employees that might need to sit on-prem. For your B2B customers, you might need another layer of security. But for the B2C audience, it could be on a public cloud. So that's where I think as you're scaling your business, these applications can grow with you. If you're not developing cloud native right now, a lot of what you're building cannot scale for 3 years, 5 years from now. And in a way, I think with COVID, we've seen a rapid acceleration of the need for flexible solutions. So I think these are some of the lessons I think we've learned along with our customers in developing cloud native applications.
Thank you, Joanne. And I would like to ask whether, Evelyn, from your experience with the industry sector, is there any worthy case study that you might want to share with us on?
Okay, so we do have prepared two case studies. One, we call them a cloud-ready company. Okay, its name is Muho. Muho is, when we mean cloud-ready, means they were already on the cloud, but not maximizing or optimizing the use of cloud native. Okay, so they are in the business of inventory management solutions for more than 10,000 customers. So with the help of the appointed cloud service provider, so what they did is that within 3 months, they have migrated to the cloud and leverage cloud native capabilities, right? They have built a simple software as a service solution just within 5 months. Okay, so that's possible depending on the complexity, I must say, of your application. Okay, and what they now do and the outcome that's achieved out of this migration and this new app is that they do not need first dedicated resource, because you don't need to do installation every time you secure a new customer. They can now focus on expanding their market, okay, beyond Singapore. They need not be restricted to their limited resource. They are now able to develop their solution faster, just like what Joanne mentioned. You can layer on and build more services as you go along, embed emerging technology, and at some point when you collect enough data, you can also implement AI as a service, right? Embed the AI services. The other company that I wanted to call out is, the name is Assimilated Technologies. It's essentially an on-prem solution provider. So prior to coming on board GoCloud, right, they actually provide identity management solutions. And you would imagine identity solutions typically is at customer end, and then they have large customers like Changi, RWS, MBS. So these are hotel solutions that they deploy. And the problem is, and during COVID times, right, you would imagine you can't go down to the hotels as well. So it's a good thing that they actually did this before COVID times, and they successfully migrated to cloud native and have this cloud native app in 4 months. So within the app, they said the need for 4 hours of on-site configuration, etc. They can perform patching without having to go down to hotel premises. Okay, they can monitor how their solutions are being used on the cloud and use that information to then improve the solution further. Okay, and of course they can easily scale to support even hotels overseas. So now they are no longer limited by customers only in Singapore. So I think these are good examples, and of course there are actually many more that experience it during this period. We have started GoCloud in March 2019, and since then there are quite a number of companies who have already come on board. Some have started thinking about it, but I would say make use of this season where government is increasing the amount of support to 80%, and so just maximize and just go and leverage it where you can. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is earlier someone mentioned about capabilities, are they able to handle it? I must say it again, government support grants is available for Undersea Trapped and even Skills Future, where up to 90% of funding for citizens and PR. But I think for the non-citizens and PR, even the HCS have got other schemes where you have the mobile apps in smaller chunks, where you can afford to learn on the internet at your pace. And that allows developers to really acquire skills without having to say that they're out for training, So yeah, all the available, I think, resources and support are there. I think we just need the companies to consult and take that bold step and make that first move.
Thank you. I think this is the big prize for everybody who is listening in. Indeed, do not waste the opportunity that is given to you. It's already coming to end August. We have a couple of more months to go. And I hope that the audience who is listening in, take your first step of that 1,000 miles. You'll never regret it. And come on, as Evelyn has said, make good use of this time to build your in-house capabilities. Now, I think Evelyn has talked a lot about the benefits of going on GoCloud Native from where the government is driving this whole program. I want to hear from, Professor Wu or Mark and even Joanne. What are some of the benefits that you think amongst your clients whom you have helped that you would like to share with us so that the audience could pick up some key points from there? Maybe we'll start with Mark. What do you think, Peihu? What do you think, Peihu? Why do you think Peihu is doing this, and how is this journey going to roll out after the proof of concept is implemented? Once it's approved, implemented, how do you think Peihu could reap further benefits from beyond the proof of concept?
So I think for Peihu itself, beyond the proof of concept, the project is going to be rather huge because the main thing that we're going to be focusing on is actually facial technology. And we have been actually in talks recently with Ma Yijingfu and Finance, because N Finance actually started it in China as well. So we actually found the contractors for the backend system. So that's actually where your device is, the facial 4D cameras and so on. That's the thing that's just going to be costly for them. So what I'm trying to mitigate for them on my side is actually on the server costings for the clients. And for people to take away, for everyone here to take away, I think that one, if we move to the cloud, the speed is definitely a plus point. Because in the past, things are always way slower when you do deployment, like what maybe everyone has been saying. We have to go on-site premises. That's why we need to actually get a green light, where from the gatekeeper, this is the time for you to deploy and so on. So you don't have a backup server, maybe even if let's say you're not on the cloud, you might not even have a backup server. That's where it can be quite dangerous at points of time. So legacy code can be an issue as well if you're on physical servers, because most of them will be either in C#, C++, maybe Java, where if you're on the cloud, most of them are actually now maybe on Golang. They either be on Python as well as PHP, right? Those are the web languages. If you're going to go towards it. So to all the viewership down here, I believe going cloud, right? This will actually help you on your cost saving. That's one. Speed improvement, as well as you can actually get the in-house capability from the government grants, right? What Evelyn had said. You need to send your guys for actually the trainings. This will actually help you a lot along the way, because everything now it's all about digital. Even our parents, when I go out with them nowadays, they can even know how to scan a QR code, where in the past they will be asking me, what's that? Everyone's learning, everyone has to change. So I believe that now is a good starting point to actually really go and understand maybe what is the cloud capabilities and when should you start moving towards it.
Thank you. I think we have touched on various aspects of GoCloud Native, from pricing to concerns like security, understanding of the whole notion of GoCloud Native. Time has actually passed so fast. We now only have about 15 to 20 minutes left. And I think it's time that we open the conversation to the viewers who are with us. Do we have questions coming in? I would like to check with our bedroom. Apparently there are a few questions coming in. Now we are going to look at the first question from Ms. Catherine Chua. Ms. Catherine Chua has asked, apart from understanding the benefits, is there any plan to share the cloud environment to the audiences to better appreciate the system? So I would like to ask this. I would like to ask Evelyn. Maybe you want to get this going before the rest answer.
I guess in terms of choosing the cloud environment, I wouldn't say how it is, because it's all in the cloud, right? But the best approach, I must say, is still to get in touch with the different service providers. If you really do not know and have no idea, we start Googling first, right? But if you want to know what's behind and the in-depth provisioning of the services, etc., join some of the networking sessions or some of these conversation series and have a feel how are people's different parties' journey. And then get in touch in our IMDA GoCloud website. There are various contact points. Get in touch with them and then have a feel in terms of what are some of the assessment points which we have mentioned. And then I think you can take it from there.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know whether panel members, any of you would want to add on to what Evelyn has just shared? No? Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Clarence.
Oh, okay. I just want to say that my journey of going cloud native is still ongoing. And it's been a real learning curve for me. So I think, like all the panelists has mentioned, there's a lot of learning to do. And I'm still learning. There's so many terminologies coming out, which is very technical. But I think everybody who wants to go cloud needs to really embrace that with a very healthy, happy heart, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult. And for me, I think I started my journey by attending actually Dr. Wu's class, which was held at HCS, and they were good. It actually gave me a very good insight about going cloud native. So, and then, that I think it was, there were several classes about that. And so that gave me a deeper understanding and the breadth of it as well. And then from there, I think you can move on to implementing and sort of seeing what your business needs are, and then move on from there.
Thank you, Clarence. Maybe Dr. Wu, would you like to elaborate a little bit more about the classes that you run, the boot camp that you run, that actually have helped people like Clarence to take that decision to go on cloud native?
So certainly. So I'm very glad to hear that it really had benefited Clarence, and also I think along with the other people who attended these classes. So we call it a boot camp, and what that means really is that we do not expect people who participate with us know a lot about cloud native in the first place, right? But then whatever background they come in with, we hope to basically impart, I think, certain basics of the knowledge so that they can relate cloud native back to the business that they run, because they will know their business better than anyone else, right? So what is static, it turns out, is the knowledge base that is now called cloud native. So with that knowledge base, how can it enable the businesses to move forward, and not just move forward in the right direction, and move forward very rapidly.
Thank you.
So that's key.
Yeah. Dr. Wu and Clarence, so, Evelyn was saying earlier about the schemes and how these schemes have been so accessible to Singaporeans and even PRs. If only you would take that first step, you actually get to benefit from all this learning. So, when you decided to sign up, Clarence, did you tap on any scheme from the government for your bootcamp?
Yes, actually, talking about that, what Evelyn brought up is very relevant, because attending the class, you can actually, as a Singaporean, and I think PR also, you can actually attend this class, and I think they give up to 90% funding or grant. So that's really helpful. And then after that, after you've done your analysis with your businesses and where you want to go with your business and what are the gaps, and whether that can be filled up by the going cloud native. I think IMDS also has plentiful of different aspects and different grants to actually assist that. So for us, we want to go global. Just really quick to share, and we felt that we want to go into the Chinese market, and therefore that's why we have also tapped on Alibaba and going through HCS to do our cloud native presently.
Thank you. So we have another question from George Kong. He asks, cloud platform security, etc., are one set of consideration. Now, most SMEs would be either driven by applications sustainability. So therefore, his question is, are cloud applications available for SMEs need to develop their own applications themselves? So I want to ask maybe any of the panel members who would be able to address these questions. I mean, as a layman myself, I think if you have the capabilities in-house, why not? With the help of a consultant, I'm sure you can do it. But maybe someone like Mark, you might want to throw some insights into this question.
Of course, for me, if you do have the in-house capability yourself, you can always try the cloud basic stuff first. Example, you can go to Google, maybe AWS, Alibaba, GCE, Google Cloud Engineering and all, to actually sign up an account first. That's the first step to take, right? After signing up an account, you can look through what kinds of microservices or what kind of services they do give out. Because like for AWS itself, because most of my clients are 90% on AWS. I don't have clients on GCE, like what everyone says, is they don't stay on one server because we can have different regions with different clients as well, right? So you can play out on the EC2 server on AWS, set up a micro instance, it's free. You can play around with it to go and see how you can do it as well. But for the coding side of things, it's a little bit tough if they do not have a technical background, like from computer science and such. So that's where they still need to go for courses. I mean, if they really want to outsource it. Otherwise, they can actually pass this down to companies who have the capability to actually give them advice and actually guide them on what they should do. So they can actually start with maybe a proof of concept first. Maybe that's one thing they can look at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Evelyn, would you have anything to add on?
Yeah. So interestingly, we have a couple of observations from the industry as well that in terms of digitalization, right, a couple of maybe larger SMEs, I must say, they have taken the approach of maybe starting a digital part, subsidiary of sort. For a start, they may have a few developers and work with partners as well to develop their own software and solutions. So, and then at some point where they feel that they are comfortable and they want to grow, they may do a spin-off of a digital arm. So in terms of tapping on the support, I must say there are a few government schemes that are available. So for GoCloud particularly, is to support what we call the ICM sector, right? So, and by that we mean the SSIC code. Sorry for being technical, but there is a way where companies, when you register your company name, etc., your business, they have this SSIC code, and there are some that are related to ICM sector. So first of all, your primary or your secondary SSIC code needs to be ICM related in order to tap GoCloud government support. However, that being said, right, all is not lost if you are a non-ICM related one. So what you can do is there are the typical EDG grants that you go to the business grant portal, you apply for a product and innovation, and you can develop the products. However, you do need, I must say again, you need to have at least 1 or 2 developers in-house for capability transfer if you work with an outsourcing company or with any of the cloud service provider as a professional service. And then you can submit your application to get the support like any other grants, and they'll be assessed accordingly. So these are various channels are already available. I just will have one more thing to add just now on the area of capability assessment, right? Not sure whether the audience is aware. Precisely, we know that some of the companies may be a bit lost as the where are they in cloud native? Do they have the capability at all? So what we have done is we have developed this what we call tech capability self-assessment tool. It's free of charge. It's at our IMDA website where you can go in and click, and they'll take you through like a survey. You answer a few questions. You can have a couple of your company members, CTO, or even HR to join you, and while online you complete the survey, and there'll be an instant report that will tell you where are your gaps, where are your strengths, and maybe the areas that you can look into and how you can increase your capability in those areas. So that allows you to assess your own maturity level of sorts, and then you decide which area you want to bridge first, which gap you want to bridge first in order to embark on your journey.
Oh, that's very, very helpful and very useful. Now, are there any more questions coming in from the audience? Well, I think it has been a very good session, ladies and gentlemen. What I want to do to end this discussion or conversation is to invite each of the panel members to give their parting words with regards to how you should go about getting started. I think we are calling for action, especially when Evelyn has already shared so much about the schemes available. So maybe we will start with Clarence. And then, Clarence, you want to say something that you feel will help the rest of the people to quickly come on board?
Okay, certainly. I think just to summarize what I said is going cloud is something that one should really seriously consider at this juncture because of COVID pandemic, and a lot of places have a lot of uncertainty. So going cloud natives allows even your staff to possibly work from home and reach out to your clients around the globe from a business point of view. But at the same time, do embrace the fact that you need to learn quite a lot of technical terminologies. It's really fun. Just have your iPhone close to you and Google all the terminologies, and I think you'll be good on your journey. All the best.
Thank you. Can we invite Dr. Wu? Dr.
Certainly.
Wu?
So maybe I'll put it very succinctly. Start now, start right, accelerate fast, and take off.
Thank you, Dr. Wu, and come for Dr. Wu. Yeah. Well, Joanne, you want to share with us some parting values and quick action words that will really motivate these people to come on?
Yes, I think my key takeaway is as well, remember that you know your business and you know how to solve your customer problems. What cloud native means is the solutions right now, the potential of building really big solutions. It's a lot easier, it's a lot simpler than you think. So dream big and start small. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, and Mark, what about yourself, Mark?
For my thoughts to everyone, we want them to move towards the cloud solutions now, because like what Clarence has said, COVID is something where, it changes everything. So everything is different. Move ahead, move fast. You got to actually learn to adapt to new circumstances as well, like all the terminologies and stuff.
Thank you. And last but not least, Evelyn. Evelyn, would you like to share some more insights of what the government is going to do about bringing companies to go on cloud native?
So I think I've shared enough in terms of the schemes, the benefits. I think the audience are aware. Most of those that we have interacted actually are starting to think about it. But I would say leave one area which most may not think. Looking forward, because you're on the cloud platform, the platform providers allows you to have the ability to forge even greater partnerships with other SMEs who may not be in the same business, but then they're complementary for you to go to market together. And because of that, right, it allows you to break new grounds, serve new segments, and have a lot more business opportunities than you currently think you are, constrained by what you're only providing. Because these customers or these partners of yours, right, these other SMEs or even the cloud service providers can actually bring new opportunities to you as well as your key partners in this whole journey. So yeah, don't be constrained by what you have today. Think big, move fast. COVID may just prove to give you that opportunity to act now.
Well said, Evelyn. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time, a new time for collaborators to come together. And as Evelyn has said, the SMEs together with the solutions providers must start to collaborate so that they can take big steps and frog leap the 1,000 miles that they are traversing. We have in store for you, ladies and gentlemen, at HCS and our partners in the ecosystem, a series of master's class as well to end 2020 on a high note. So look out for next month, September 23rd, where we would be running our masterclass come boot camp, the boot camp that Clarence has attended, and maybe that will be another platform to help you to get started. So on this note, thank you very much for joining us in this conversation. I hope it had been an insightful conversation for all of you. You have learned something for yourselves. And panel members, thank you for taking off your valuable time to spend with us. And we look forward to you to continue to cultivate the GoCloud native ecosystem together with HCS and all our partners. On this note, thank you, stay well, goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.